What is the definition of a narcissist? The word gets thrown around a lot. I'm going to give you my definition based on having dealt with a clinically diagnosed narcissist. I'm going to talk a little bit about the psychological side and then a little bit about the spiritual side as well. So the psychological side, it starts at childhood. What happens typically is the child is exposed to trauma, neglect, abuse, something by one of the parents. There's also a different side to narcissism. It's also another form of neglect, but it's where the parents constantly reinforce that the kid is just so great and wonderful and never do anything wrong. There's no real discipline. There's no real confronting them, which again is another form of neglect, to not teach your kid and just tell them they're great, they're great, they're great, you're the princess and all of that. So there's kind of two sides to the same coin. What it comes down to is ultimately they weren't cared for. So what happens? It's kind of obvious in the abusive, difficult situation where the kid says, I need to survive. And I'm going to do anything. There's a point, probably around the teens, I would guess, where they say, I'm going to survive. Nothing's going to stop me. And I'm going to control every little thing, every little person to make sure that I don't get hurt like I was hurt before. Because they're always gaslighting, triangulating later in life to not feel what they felt before. They also don't build a real sense of self-confidence. Taking the example of the kid that is always told they're great, gets whatever they want, right? The problem there is that they also don't develop a healthy sense of confidence. Instead, they have this insecurity. Both have this insecurity where what happens is it turns into, it's about me because look what I went through, or I'm just so great. You can't tell me anything. And they create this grandiose version of themselves. And within this, they don't take accountability because they so don't want to feel, maybe it was that critical parent that was so critical to them, or the other one who just never criticized and they always got what they want, right? In either circumstance, what happens is they cannot take criticism. They cannot be accountable. Even when they might be acting the way that their parent treated them, when they're confronted, they don't really take responsibility. They might temporarily. I have seen them say sorry, but they don't really mean it. It's kind of crazy how that happens. But they may say sorry just to get you back where they want you. So that's a big thing, is the lack of accountability. So what happens? It becomes about them. Their kids are an extension of them. Their spouse exists to take the energy from, which I'm going to get to on the spiritual side, right? And they're chameleons. They don't develop a real sense of self or confidence or identity. So what do? They morph based on who they're around to be liked. And people always think these people look like Darth Vader or something. A lot of times it's the politicians, it's the movie stars. It's people who can be very charming. The narcissists in my life, if you met them, in the beginning, you would think they're funny, they're the life of the party. If I had told you about them, you might think this guy's crazy, she's great, or whatever. This is very common. They can be very winsome and charming. Other personality disorders on the B cluster, like borderline, where maybe they have trouble being social and threaten to cut themselves, that's a totally different thing. Narcissist is about self. They think they're great. And then what they'll do is get reinforcement to go do something that looks externally great, and the friends and other people think they're great. And when they come home, they treat their kids, they treat their spouse, the people closest to them, they treat them terribly. They never want you to be better than them. With their own kids sometimes, they don't want their kids to do things better. So what does this mean? Let's get to the spiritual side. So you understand the psychology side. When I say spiritual, think of a few things. There's different views about spirituality, but let's just start with pride, or the ego, whatever you want to call it, the self. So the ego is defined as you, right? Or the self. What we see and understand when it turns into a prideful, not a healthy pride, but a false confidence, the ego side of self, where you have total service to self, right? Like the law of one talks about service to self or service to others. The narcissist is fully on the service to self path. They're on the pride, it's about me path, to the point where they don't have empathy for other people. Now they can disguise and maybe even cry and pretend like they're showing empathy, but again, it's just to get you out of that mode of seeing who they really are or confronting them. So what happens spiritually over time? What happens is, I don't know if it's a demon, if it's whatever, as they go through that childhood phase, and they eventually say, I'm going to control, no one's going to hurt me, I'm going to have power, to the point where they will even delude reality. Sometimes you wonder, What reality are they in? Or I would say, hey, I need to record you because you did not say it like that. They create this diluted reality. And spiritually, what happens, it's like they're not there, but this entity or this almost like demonic force of self, no empathy, takes over and rules their body. Like I've seen these people, it's almost like they're possessed. They can have fun out of hurting people. They can have fun seeing you suffer. So it may start as being protective, and then it turns into fun. I like to gaslight you. I like to manipulate you. And they'll do two different things. Like they might say, hey, great job. Oh, you're terrible within 10 minutes. So they're really messing with you, and they enjoy that process. They don't want you to feel stable, because then you might understand or see who they really are. So what does this mean? What happens spiritually is morals become self. There's no rules for them. The only rule is self. What gets me what I want in the moment? I've seen these people defend a certain belief system, and then when they get divorced or get away from whatever group they're around that's approving of them, because maybe they find out who they are, that friend group, and they go become someone totally different with totally different values. Even sometimes like, wait, I thought you hated the outdoors. Wait, I thought you hated working, and now you're this career person. I thought it's crazy. And within this, there are scopes. If you've studied narcissism, you get the high functioning. They could be, again, presidents, CEOs, right, of companies. They could look very successful on the outside. They could also be covert, where they're more nice about it and really bring people in. I knew someone with money who was a covert narcissist and was always just buying people things and, hey, come on this trip and let's go here and there. But they were doing it for control. Then it would be like, if you brought a criticism to them, well, I took you on this trip here. How dare you, right? That's more of a covert narcissist thing. But remember, the moral is self. I'm going to protect self at all costs. I'm not going to look in the mirror, consider if I'm doing anything bad. Only 2% of narcissists seek treatment. So if this is you and you've gone through this, one thing I had to realize is that these people are that little boy or girl trapped in that 12 to 15-year-old body, just thinking, I need to protect and triangulate and do all these things to make sure I always have the power and control, which means they're actually insecure and weak. Now I know the CEO of the company may have a lot of power. Look at the celebrities and all this stuff they were doing to younger kids and all that, right? They feel that power rush. It could be a divorce and one side has more money to just mess someone up in court over and over and make them spend all their money. But at least feel some strength in the fact that you're actually dealing with an insecure child. So don't take it personally or seriously. And I'm not saying that you deserve it. I'm not by any means saying what they're doing isn't real. Just don't take it personally. They're almost like, I think of it as like this little demonic voice just like rah, 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 coming at you saying some total nonsense usually, because they want to rile you up. They want to get you fighting. They want to be able to say, see, look, he got upset even though I attacked him 20 times. She got upset because, that's the game that they play. The other thing is you have to build yourself. We can all sit here and talk about the crazy stories, and people start telling me a story, I'm dating this woman or whatever, and I'll know in minutes the person has a personality disorder. They may have a narcissistic personality disorder. But you also have to move on with your life, even if you have divorced from someone, and they will not like to see you doing well. They may not care and be onto their own next thing, right? But they definitely won't want to see you better than them. If you don't have kids in your divorce, no contact. Don't contact. There's no reason to talk. Just don't do it. It won't get anywhere. But the next point is become a stoic in your responses to them. Stick to the facts. Don't get riled up. That's what they want. They like that. So I've read a personality disorder actual diagnosis, and one thing was they got no attention, and so they created negative attention with their parent to get some form of attention, and then they started doing that with their spouse. So they actually enjoy that negative attention. They just want some kind of attention. So work on yourself, rebuild yourself, starting by knowing that they're a trapped little kid, not as powerful as you think. I know when you're living with them, they're spinning your head around, you can't think straight and everything. But you have to detach and take a step back, not take it personal, because otherwise it's going to drive you nuts. And that's what they want to do. They want to suck. It's like they want to suck the energy out of your soul. They feel so empty. They need people and attention to feed off of. Why? Because they never really dealt with themselves, worked on themselves, built real character, built a value that they can be proud of. And they want to be loved, but they want to do it by controlling, which actually thwarts their ability to get love from people. And you need to have boundaries. Like the narcissist in my life used to text all the time, no response, wait to reply if I had to reply. Or they may check in 6 months later, hey, how you doing? Total disregard for what they did to you. You want to grab lunch or just something totally crazy because there's no self-awareness there. And as a counselor once told me, they're scanning for vulnerabilities. So you need to be a wall. You need to be stoic in your responses and firm at the same time. If you're like me, you probably already had compassion for their story and all the terrible things that happened to them, but you just simply can't be compassionate in that capacity. And sometimes the most loving thing is a boundary. It's saying no. It's not replying to the text. It's waiting to reply. All those things are things you need to implement. So the next step, and you can find other videos on the channel about this, is what you need to do to rebuild and overcome and regain your sense of who you are and yourself, because you probably lost it if you're with one of these people. Also, check the links in the description for some resources that can be really helpful for you based on my experience, all the things I've studied, other people I've talked to, counselors, and other types of work, spiritual work and mental work and emotional work that I've done to deal with these types of people. The goal is to take back yourself and take everything back, but not by revenge, by becoming more and becoming more of who you are. And if the narcissist hates it or not, it doesn't matter. So take a step forward and don't let these people rule your life, especially if you have a divorce, you're not even with them anymore. Regain who you are.